It doesn't do what I want.
Hello and welcome to Toilet Talks with me, Ikenna Azuike. Now, if we want to solve the challenges that the world faces, we need big and bold ideas from inspirational people. And that's where Toilet Talks comes in, a show about big ideas from the smallest room. Toilet Talks is a show from water and sanitation champion IRC. Today my guest is a very versatile person. He is a big influencer of the Dutch cultural landscape. He's a theatre director and founder of Urban Myth, a theatre company in the heart of Amsterdam. So he's a theatre director, a writer, and also a curator of the exhibition Dutch Masters Revisited in the Amsterdam Museum. It is Jörgen Tjon A Fong. Jörgen, hello.
Hey, Ikenna, how are you?
I'm good. Welcome. Usually we tell our guests, or we ask our guests politely to call us from their own toilets, but we decided to make an exception for you because you are in this really spectacular looking place.
Yeah.
So where exactly is it?
This is the Hotel W in Amsterdam. And I didn't know because yearly there is this election of the most beautiful toilet of the Netherlands, and they were elected to be the most beautiful toilet in the Netherlands. So when you approached me to do this interview, I said I have to pull up my standards. I cannot just talk to you from a common toilet. I have to be in the most beautiful toilet of the Netherlands in order to have this conversation. So here we are.
Oh no! I feel you made me feel terrible about my own toilet now. I feel like I'm just a commoner in my common toilet.
Then I'll say mission accomplished, my friend. Mission accomplished.
So listen, Jörgen, on the show we ask our guests to share their biggest insight, an insight that impacted their life and maybe even changed their outlook on life in general. Tell me, what is yours?
Well, my insight is that you have to be a good ancestor, that every decision that you now make will impact generations to come. And that's a responsibility you do have to take. If you realize that every decision you make will influence their generations and generations to come, it makes you live your life more consciously, so to speak. So every decision will not only be beneficial for yourself, but will it be beneficial for the other, for next generations? And that makes your position in life, that changes your position in life. And that was an insight that it made me conscious of the bigger part I had to play in that sense, or the bigger part we all have to play.
I think it's a beautiful insight, and it immediately makes me think, okay, how do you put something like that into practice in your daily life?
Well, that was something that I wondered as well. And when I talked to Roman Krznaric, the writer of the Being a Good Ancestor, he said, use the elections, for example, not to vote for yourself, but to vote for your children. So what I did is I sat down with my daughter and said, okay, if you were to vote, she's 12, if you were to vote, what would you vote? And then we dived into different parties, different politicians, and she was able to formulate what was important for her, and that translated into a vote for a person. And I used my vote to vote for the person that she preferred, which was quite strange to do because it was about giving up power, but I really trusted her insight and her ideas as well. So that's how you can put it into practice.
When it comes to climate change, for instance, it's essential that our generation thinks long term, and we start taking decisions even in our private lives which may include, for instance, not flying, which may include doing things which give us short-term satisfaction but have terrible impacts in the long term.
Yeah, and that's the most important thing, to think long term and to make decisions in order to change the world that we live in right now. And some people see the pandemic as an end of an era. And can we change broken systems that we have? And can we use this pandemic to change the world into a much fairer or a more equal place? I think that's the biggest challenge for us all, because we all long for our lives to go back as the way they were. But should we really want that? Or should we strive for a fundamental change? If you measure quality of life by economic standards, this is the way to go about it. Then it's all about growth. It's all about wanting things, and it's all about the market. If the value of the highest achievable goal is the economic value, this is where we're at the moment. And are we able to change that economic value into something else, into well-being? How successful is a country if the people there have a high standard of well-being instead of a high economic level?
I feel as though intergenerational thinking is something that kind of comes naturally to you, though, Jörgen, because I see it in a lot of your work, in Urban Myths work, and in your current exhibition. This idea of encouraging people to rethink and reshape the way that they look at Dutch history, Dutch culture. Can you tell me a little bit more about Dutch Masters Revisited specifically first?
Yeah, Dutch Masters Revisited is a project where we made portraits inspired by Rembrandt and his contemporaries, and we portrayed people of color from the 17th and 18th century, people that we know that lived in Amsterdam and in the Netherlands, but weren't painted, or we don't know whether they were painted, but we don't see them on the pictures now. And but they were part of Holland. They were part of Dutch history, and they're part of the DNA of the Netherlands.
Why did you really want to tell that story?
Because if you look at paintings right now, and people base their conception of history on what was portrayed on those paintings, we have to realize that it was the elite of the Netherlands, and that it was only very one-sided. You know, a lot of men and rich people as well. But through the whole of society, people of color were represented. People that came here from Brazil, the elite of color that came from Suriname to live in Amsterdam, and those stories of all those people that were represented in all layers of society that had a culturally diverse background. People from Indonesia, for example, we forgot those stories one way or another. And through an exhibition like we made in collaboration with the Amsterdam Museum, we brought those stories back into our collective memories, so that my children would understand that if they were born in the 17th or 18th century, that they would meet people that have the same background like they have. Or if I would, be Rembrandt's neighbor, I wouldn't be the only person of color that lived there, but there were many people like me that lived around the corner of Rembrandt. And that's a very important story to be shared, I believe. And that's the thing. I don't want to take anything away from history, but I would like to add something to make it richer. It's important to know that the Netherlands, but Amsterdam especially, is a migrant city. Without migration, Amsterdam wouldn't exist. And we have to be aware of that, especially when we talk about Dutch culture, or when we try to define what culture of a nation is. We have to understand that it's compiled of different parts that collectively combines into a new culture. But all those different parts come from all over the world. And that's something to be proud of, actually. There's this Surinamese proverb that I love that says, "Fusapego, you mu fusapeg mopo." To know where you're heading to, you first have to know where you came from. And if you're aware of that rich history, then you know where you're going, because you take that history into account.
Okay, so in every toilet talk, there is one ritual that comes back. We give each of our guests the opportunity to get rid of something. Get rid of something that they can't stand, all right? They get to flush it. So Jörgen Tjon A Fong, what would you like to flush?
Well, we talked about the elections. So what I would like to flush is lying politicians. I can't stand them. I love politicians. I love their ideals, but the lying politicians, they need to go.
And you know what? We're going to get rid of them. Okay? So give me a countdown. We'll count down together. 3, 2, 1, and then they're flushed. Okay, ready?
Let's do that.
3.
3,
2,
2,
1.
1. Flush.
Smooth. That went super smoothly. Nearly time for us to say goodbye. So I would like to know, who would you like to give the Toilet Talk toilet roll to next?
The Toilet Talk toilet roll. I would like to give the Toilet Talk toilet roll next to the person who I think has got another beautiful toilet. We're in the most beautiful toilet at the moment, but I think the Queen Maxima. I bet she's got a great toilet. So
Do you think it's a golden toilet?
No, that's too cheap. No, that's Donald Trump. He's got a golden toilet. The Queen has got something designed, something Dutch designed, which is very special.
Ooh.
The problem is here, I don't have toilet rolls. I do have papers, so I can throw a couple of papers. Here goes. It doesn't do what I want.
I think that's how I'm going to caption this episode. Jörgen Tjon A Fong throws toilet paper at Queen.
Yes, please do so. Clickbait.
That'll get us some clicks.
We do believe in clickbait.
Oh, thank you so much, Jörgen.
Thank you.
I really
Thank
appreciate you
Thank
taking the time out to talk to me.
More than welcome.
And I'm very grateful that you shared your insight about how important it is for us to base the decisions we take today on the impact that they have on future generations.
Great.
So much appreciated.
Very welcome. Anytime.